Greetings ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video for Fork This Life, written by Jinxes 2011. This video contains chapter 37, and as always I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 37, Magic. Now I just need to double check that the time slots don't conflict. I'm fine. Excellent. I fill out the form, making only small accidental ink blots on the corner of the page in the process. A slight lapse in concentration is all it takes. We have today free while the process of all our forms, so what do I do with the free time? Of course, I head to the library. This being the second semester, I should have greater access. Ignoring the gargoyles, as per usual, I head to the desk. Mr. Leish isn't there right now. He usually works through the night hours. Instead, Professor Calby is at the desk, poring as usual over some ancient tomb. Seeing that the professor still hasn't noticed me by the time I'm hovering in the front desk, I loudly clear my non-existent throat. Just a moment, I'm nearly at the end of the chapter. The professor mumbles absent-mindedly, not even looking up. Not in any particular rush, I decide to wait. After a while, I cough again. Professor, you've finished the chapter. Hi, Professor. Calby looks up and sighs. I suppose I have. Is there a problem, Gerald? No, not a problem. No, just a new semester, so I came to see whether I could get my new card today, I explained. The new semester? So it is. Professor Calby looked vaguely surprised. Let me just get the registry. Brushing the tomb aside, the professor pulls out the registry and leaves through the pages. Gerald, second semester student. Everything is in order. Pulling a card from beneath the desk, the professor meticulously writes my name on it. I'll need your old one back now. As I hand over the professor telekinetically, I ask, do you keep a box of cards under there every time the semester starts? All the time, actually, Professor Calby sighs, passing my old card over the new one. The new one briefly flashes. You wouldn't believe how many students come in here halfway or just before the end of the semester and need to get a new card. We had someone who had gone full 3 years without going to the library once. Shaking their head, the professor hands me the card back. They needed me, Leish, and an assistant librarian to have the proper authority to bypass the security measures. It's a linear system, you understand. You need to turn in the previous level card to receive the next one. It's not a problem if someone comes into the second or third semester without ever having a card, but after that it can become, irritating. Makes sense, I agree. Thanks for the card. Professor Calby nods slightly, already sliding the tomb back to the previous position. With my new card in telekinetic hand, I progress through the first section of the library. I had spent long enough in here to know that every nook and cranny of its magically dustless shelves and tables, including the ever-enticing pair of doors that leads to the next section. I hold up the card with a faint feeling of trepidation, an irrational fear that for some reason it won't work. But it does, and the doors swing open. I float through, filled with anticipation at what vast troves of information lie within. As the second section of the library opens itself to my senses, I stop my forward progression abruptly. It is much larger than I had imagined. While the previous section had walls lined with bookshelves that were almost full, this room was not that large, just enough room for a few tables within it. This section is probably at least 5 times as long and as wide as the previous, and it has 3 levels. The shape of each floor is perfectly octagonal, with the staircase to the higher floor on the side directly to each of the doors, and a staircase to the lower floor on the side to the left of the doors. There are also additional staircases up and down on the sides of the opposite side of the room, the staircases next to the doors. Another set of doors presumably to the next section of the library. It's situated on the side that runs perpendicular to the entry, on the right. The center of the octagon in each floor is occupied by a dozen tables, each able to seat 4 or perhaps 6 at a stretch. The rest of the floor space is dedicated to scores upon scores of bookshelves, with open paths left in between them so that people can easily navigate the floor. The sheer quantity of books makes me change my plans. Initially, I thought that I would be able to do what I had in the previous section, where I had read practically every book available. Clearly, that would be impossible. I don't think that I would have been able to finish all of these in a year, let alone in one term. And that's assuming I'm just reading through each book without pause. This is going to be awesome. Then again, maybe I shouldn't start today. If I go through and read all the titles, I'll be able to find what is easier later on when I need them. And I know what I won't be able to stop reading once I pick one of these up. I won't have the patience afterwards. Alright, that's what I'll do. If I can calm down enough. I start slowly moving around the room, not touching any of the books, just reading the titles on the spines. I don't even understand the majority of them. What's Eyes to the Soul supposed to be about? But it doesn't matter. For now, I'm just taking a stock, so to speak. As I go, I notice another few things about the section. Unlike the first one, this section has a signage indication genres and subgenres. The genres seem to be by schools of magic, destruction, illusion, restoration, and so on, with the addition of general genre. Subgenres vary more, especially in the general section. There are elements, of course. Then there are also less basic ones: astral, blood, alchemy, nature, force, emotion, harmonic, sympathy, divination, and what seems to be like 1,000 others. After going through all of them, I feel like I've had a much better grasp of everything even if I don't fully understand what they might contain. Doing all of this takes enough time that it's a bit after midnight by the time I finish. I head out of the library again, passing by the second set of gargoyles guarding the entrance to the second section of the library that I had barely even noticed earlier, through the first section and past the front desk, where Mr. Leish is now sitting instead of Professor Calby. "Evening," I remark as I pass by, to which he nods shortly in response. Passing through practically deserted halls, I head out into the courtyard. Drea will likely be asleep. I won't be able to get through to the house, so I'll have to pass the time outside. Normally this wouldn't be a problem as I just read through the night, but I'm afraid that I just get too into reading and not notice the time passing by. I could use one of the practice rooms with shooting grounds, but I honestly don't feel like going anything except reading right now. Aimlessly hovering around the courtyard, I look up into the sky. As always, I can see much more than a few of the brightest stars and distant blurs. The eyes of clairvoyance doesn't have good vision as a normal human eye. I remember being able to see many more stars and much brighter ones, even when I needed glasses. Eventually, I decided to settle down on the table and meditate until morning comes. Once morning comes, I rouse myself and I head towards Drea's office, feeling much calmer than earlier. When I get there, I tap lightly on the door. To be honest, it's difficult for me to tap hard, considering how light I am. Drea opens the door and nods hello to me. "The letter came through. You got all the classes you wanted, but if I can ask, why light magic? It doesn't seem like something that you'd be interested in." "Call it an experiment," I said vaguely. "I have something I want to test, and the most likely way to do it is through light magic." Shrugging, he moves back to his desk and throws one of the papers there towards me. Catching it with telekinesis, I take a look. It's basically just an official notice of which classes I have and when. Since I already memorized those details, I toss it into the wastebin in the corner. My first class is just a couple hours. It's Earth Magic. I don't know that I'll be too deep into learning Earth Magic, but my objective in doing it is more for a learning experience, getting the hang of casting magic and finding out some of the applications of the different elements. Light magic, I'm not sure if what I'm thinking will work, and I'm not sure that it won't work. Regardless, there's no harm in learning some light magic. At the very least, I could use it to blind people, or just for, well, light. Most you should be starting your second term. Joel, the teacher of basic Earth magic, states, activating magic is much simpler than your teachers will have you implied. The Academy does not want students experimenting with magic before they have learned the proper caution. Joel stares out at the class stonily, causing some of the students to shift in discomfort. There are many methods of activating magic. For the sake of being concise, I will limit my explanation to the 3 primary used methods. Freeform magic, something referred to as imagination magic. If you practice this, you might already have experienced casting magic. Infuse your will into your mana and bring it out into the world, if necessary, so long as your image of magic as you wish you to create is strong enough and does not shift, your magic will cast successfully. Is there anyone willing to attempt this? A single, nervous boy tentatively stands up. Good. Come on out to the front. Joel nods slightly. The boy glances down at his desk for a moment before stepping out from behind it and slowly walking in front of him. Draw out some mana above your palm, Joel instructs. Without any difficulty, the boy quickly expels a ball of mana above his outstretched hand. It quickly, steady, and in uniform. Nice control. Seeing this, Joel begins to verbally guide the boy. Keep an image of a rock in your mind. Imagine your mana becoming hard and smooth, grey and heavy. Will it be so? Believe it. The boy stares at the mana in his hands, and for a few of his nervous, bated breaths, nothing changes. After another few moments, though, the ball of mana slowly gains a very grey tinge, and swings slightly to a less spherical, multifaceted shape. It even begins to sink downwards from where it was floating just above his hand. Seeing the changes happening, the boy's eyes widened, and the ball of mana starts to lift again, quickly pouring into its original colour. His face falls. A good first attempt, Joel nods, although his face doesn't change expression in the slightest. The most important thing for magicians that practice freeform magic is to keep the image constant. No matter what happens around them, go back and practice again at your desk, quietly. Vocal, infuse your mana into your voice and allow your mana to be guided into your voice in turn. Joel explains roughly. Does anyone speak Terran? Everyone glances around at each other, but nobody puts up their hand. Joel's expression doesn't change, but he sounds vaguely disappointed as he says, Learn it. It has an excellent affinity for casting earth elemental magic. Vocal is a bit more complex to learn at first. For now, I will demonstrate. Joel raises a chin slightly, and when he starts to speak again, he speaks in a gravelly word that I don't recognize, but can somehow understand. Stalagmite. A small stone spire rises up from the surface of the desk in front of Joel, before shortly crumbling and dissipating into an ambient manner. Finally, formations. Joel takes a piece of chalk and draws a simple formation circle on the blackboard, the likes of which we'd drawn 100 times practicing in the previous term. Simple formations are easy to activate, simple to infuse your mana into the formation. Placing a single thick forefinger on the formation, Joel does exactly what he said. Other than a brief glow of mana, nothing happens. This formation does not work. Why? He asks the class. Chalk is a bad carrying of mana. A girl a few seats over voices uncertainly. She looks rather familiar. In fact, wasn't she in my class last term? What was her name? Right, Joyce. Partially correct, Joel replies. Chalk is not an efficient conductor of mana. If mana seeps out and dissipates into the air, this means more mana is required to activate and sustain the spell. I could still be activated. It's because there is no diagram components of the shape of the spell, I ask. Correct, Joel says unblinkingly. That is known as an empty formation. It does nothing. It merely is a template to be altered and built upon. Lifting the chalk once again, Joel draws a simple symbol on the blackboard near the circle, and a second, more complex one next to it. Pointing at the simple one, Joel states, This is a common symbol for Earth. The other one is a Terran symbol for Earth. Copying the former into the circle, Joel states, I have now defined what the spell is made from, and it lacks a form or function. Joel adds a few words in common to the inner circle circumference of the circle. Stone emerge in the form of a spike. Then he draws another circle, this time with the Terran symbol for Terran words, which, obviously, I can't read. Psychic translation doesn't translate written languages. Placing a forefinger in each of the formation, Joel refuses with mana, causing the stone spikes to emerge from the blackboard. The one emerging from the Terran formation is visibly thicker than the common formation. As seen by the difference in size of spikes, the Terran is superior to command in casting earth elemental magic, Joel states. As another method of casting formation magic, you can form a formation itself without your mana. This is much more difficult to accomplish, but there is no need for external tools. Joel extends a hand and the same Terran formation swiftly forms out of mana in front of it. Form a spike then crumbles into nothingness. For the rest of the lesson we'll be practice casting magic. Formation mages copy the one on the blackboard. Vocal mages the incantation you'll be. So, are you following me to all my classes now? I asked Joe as I head out of class. No, he shrugs. I'm not in the advanced mana control class. But you still know all my classes, I sigh. Of course. Did you expect any different? He asks with a hint of amusement. No, not really, I admit. So Earth, Fire and Light. What other classes are you doing? Joe scratches his beard idly. Keeping it simple for the first term, just doing the basic elements. I pause. The elements, as in all of them. Water, earth, fire, air, light, and darkness. Those are the ones, he nods. Huh. It's out of the ordinary, but then again, so is he. I still don't really know how he even enrolled. I suppose to get much harder the older you get. You know, I'm kinda surprised that you don't already know magic. Oh, I do, he says, but I was originally self-taught. And it's been a long time since I've done any study or research on the topic. You coming here gave me an opportunity to update my knowledge and learn some of the newer techniques. So I thought, why not? Right, I replied dubiously. I never do know when he's joking or serious. Maybe he's always joking. Maybe he's always serious. The problem is everything I know about him is what he himself has told me. Who knows what's true? Almost immediately after basic earth magic, I have basic light magic class. As I move towards the class, I am surprised to see both Lynae and Lamar heading in the same direction. Hey, it's Gerald, said Lynae, exclaiming excitedly to Lamar as he spots me from down the corridor. Morning, I greet them as Lynae runs up to me, Lamar trailing slightly behind him in the power walk. You're in a light magic class too. That's great, Lynae grins. Are we in any of your other classes? I'm doing light, water, nature, and advanced mana control, and Lamar is doing light, wind, water, and advanced mana control. Just this and mana control, I'm afraid. I'm doing that, light, earth, and fire, I explained. Ah, Lynae groans before perking up again. Well, 2 out of 4 isn't bad. There were so many different classes to choose from that I'm kinda surprised that we got 2 and the same between all of us. And there's only going to be more next term, I agreed. Most of the classes here require you to have done the other classes beforehand. So, once we've done these classes, all the classes required these ones will be open to us. Chances are that we might not even be sharing one class next term. Lynae frowns sadly, almost tearing up. Don't remind me. I'll see you guys around, won't I? Of course, I reassure him, just as Lamar hugs the little guy. Look, how about next term, once all we have our timetables, we come together and figure out a time that we all have free so that we can still chat. I propose. Lamar nods in agreement and Lynae wipes his eyes. That sounds good, he says, smiling, but not quite fully as before. The lesson taught by Mrs. Zeta was surprisingly pleasant and Monetarian lady, the mostly identical to the previous class, with the spell being taught obviously being light elemental spell that just provides a soft source of light. Honestly, even something like this can be an effective weapon. Just provide enough mana to the spell, and you could probably blind someone quite easily. Not to mention the utility applications. Just having a source of light that cannot be doused or accidentally cause a forest fire is quite useful. It appears that both Lynae and Lamar are going to be vocal route of casting their magic, since I had already become somewhat familiar with casting via formations in the previous class. I take the opportunity to learn how to cast vocally as well. After all, there's no deficit in learning alternate methods of casting. In my first few tries I was unsuccessful, then I started to wonder whether I could even cast magic this way, with my voice being generated through a magical tool, but with some careful assistance from Mrs. Zeta, I managed to figure it out. "It's so bright! It's like a little fairy!" Ouya exclaims in awe. Almost instantly a rather cross voice comes from the few desks over. "I'm not little, and I'm tall for a fairy." We look over to see the fairy glaring at us with crossed arms. "I'm sorry," Ouya apologizes. "I was just saying that the light magic is pretty." "Are you saying that all fairies are pretty?" "I'm not pretty, I'm handsome. Witness my manliness." The fairy flexes his tiny limbs mightily. "No, I didn't mean, I meant," Ouya sputters, attempting to find a way to apologize. The fairy flies over, his own little ball of light bobbing along behind him, and slaps Ouya on the shoulder, laughing. "Just kidding, you should have seen your face. It's pretty cool, huh?" Ouya breathes a sigh of relief. "Yeah, it's, Just as he starts speaking, a ball of light in front of him flickers and vanishes. "Oh, I'm out of mana." The Mars light spell flickers into nothing a few moments after, with spells all around the room similarly vanishing as the majority of the students run out of mana. "Witness my awesome power!" The fairy raises his hands dramatically, and after a few more seconds his light ball also flickers and dies. He drops his hands down and slouches exaggeratedly. "Never mind." I surreptitiously end my spell. It's not like there is any particular deficits in standing out, but there aren't really any benefits either. Not that I actually weigh the pros and cons for this sort of thing. I just prefer not to stand out when I can help it. The tallest trees catch the most wind, as they say, and I'm perfectly happy and a few taller trees shelter me from the brunt of the gales. Well, that was fun. The fairy stretches in the air. The name's Spark. Yours? End of chapter. And that, my friends, is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please consider supporting the author from the links down below. And if you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways listed down below. The easiest of which would be to share this channel, subscribe, like and comment, and all the other stuff that Google wants us to push. But anyways, until the next video, I hope that you all have a good one, and I'll see you then. Cheers.